Hello folks, it's me again. I did a previous video on new car delays. So if you've ordered a new car and the delivery date's been put back time after time after time, there are a few different things you can do. You can try and cancel and get an in-stock deal. You could maybe subscribe to a car on a short-term basis. Did a video for that one already, but now I've put a link to that up there somewhere. And the other thing you could do is try and buy a cheap car that's not going to lose any value. So you can maybe run it for 6 months or a year, however long you need to, and sell it for very close to what you paid for it. Now, of course, with times being tight at the moment, this might be something you're looking to do anyway. Completely aside from if you've ordered a new car or not, you might just be looking for a cheap car that's going to be fairly cheap to run, that you can maybe get rid of for what you paid for in 6 months or a year if things pick up for you a bit. I've just picked 3 cars here. They've got one family hatch and a couple of very small cars. One thing they've all got in common is they're very cheap to run, very cheap to insure, very cheap to tax. And I think that's going to be particularly important when it comes to resale of these cars in 6 months or a year's time, however long you want to keep it. Times are getting tough out there for a lot of people. If you've got a car that's going to be cheap to buy, cheap to tax, and cheap to run, I think you're probably onto a bit of a winner. I'm not vouching for any of these particular cars, by the way. I'm just showing you some examples of cars that are probably a good shout to get hold of. I haven't obviously gone and inspected any of these cars or anything like that. And as always, make sure you do your research, look at common faults before you go and view a car, and give the thing a really great test drive. So if any of those common faults do exist on the car you're looking at, you've detected that and had a conversation about it before you part with your readies. Just before we get onto that, just do go and check out my website, won't you? notaguru.co.uk. As you can see, there are lots of different things up here. You've got links to all my social media accounts. I still have an embarrassing number of followers on that. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You've got the merch store, the support page where you can go and buy me a coffee. And then these are things that I've written, which I occasionally do and I need to do a lot more of. So do keep an eye on that. Also on this page, I will be talking about VCheck a little bit. You've got my link to VCheck right there. So go and check out the website, notaguru.co.uk, and spread the love. Okay, so the first one is this, a Dacia Sandero's 2014 900cc TCE Ambiance Euro 5. Not the most exciting car in the world. None of these are, in fairness. But have a look at this. It's a decent sized car, the Sandero. Obviously, it's very much old technology, tried and tested. This one appears to tick most of the boxes. Obviously, it's just fairly basic spec. But you've got ISOFIX fittings. Let's have a look. ULEZ compliant, 2 keys, HPI clear, owner's manual booklets, full dealer service history, low guaranteed warranted mileage, verified by Vossa, electric windows, auxiliary input, Bluetooth hands-free, USB port, eco mode, start and drive spot on, very clean in and out. Everything's in good working order, only 2 previous owners from new and very good MPG. New chain kit has been fitted as they need to be changed at 85,000 miles, which they say this one's done. £30 for road tax, cheap to run. Any inspection welcome. 30 quid a year road tax. Combined MPG of 56.5, insurance group 6. That is low, ladies and gents. That's going to be fairly cheap insurance for you. Full service history, they're saying. There aren't any pictures of that, so we can't really sort of dig into it too much. 0 to 62 in 11 seconds. It's not terrible. And you've got 320 litres of boot space. So it's really not a bad shout. I know it's not an exciting thing in any way, shape or form. But if you've got a reasonably reliable car, which they appear to be, the Sanderos, it's only a 2014 model and it's under £3,000. Now, I've had a look at We Buy Any Car and they're offering 1900 quid on one of those of that mileage. And then I've also just done a little V-check because, as you can see, they've said HPI clear in this, and here the basic check has been passed. But I've just done the really basic V-check. You're not seeing if it's already been a write-off or stolen, colour changes, outstanding finance, valuation, those kind of things. A lot of those are already covered by the Auto Trader HPI check and possibly one that the dealer's done for you. But what this will do is show you if it's ever been through a salvage auction, which means it might have been an unrecorded write-off. And although that might not bother you too much on a car of this price, when you come to resell it, it may well bother the next buyer who quite possibly will have done a V-check or a car vertical check or something that's far, far better than an HPI check. So this all looks good, no issues with this one. I'm only doing the V-check on this one car, by the way. I'm not made of money. And there you can see the mileage. So it goes up incrementally as one might expect. You've also got all the MOT history on here, and it will also give you things like the VIN number and the engine number. Obviously, they'll be on the V5 document when you go to buy a car, but you should also check them on the car to make sure they haven't been swapped. Again, not so much for an issue on a car of this value, potentially. So that all looks good. By the way, if you want to do the MOT check for free, you can do that just on Check MOT. This did fail, had a couple of things on it which have now been done, and it's now got an advisory on the near side front coil spring. The MOT expires in December. You could potentially run this car up until December, get that done, chuck a new MOT on it, hopefully get it advisory free, stick the car up for sale for £3,000. Why not? Next one's a Toyota Aygo. I'm looking at this. This is obviously a very small car, as is the next one. The Sandero is by far the biggest car we've got here. But if you literally just need a bit of transport, possibly you're going to and fro a station every day, or you only need a car for 6 months or something, could you live with something that small? That's the question to answer yourself. The reason I've picked such small cars is A, they're really cheap to run, really cheap to insure, really cheap to tax, but B, they're so easy to sell. You've got the whole young driver market open to you with one of these. You've possibly got older drivers open to you with one of these. Small cars sell quickly. This is the 1 litre VVTi, ULEZ compliant, MOT due in September, new clutch fitted October 21. Engine oil change in 21, new back box and midsection exhaust in 21, 2 owners, full-size spare wheel. It's got a couple of scuffs on it, and the aircon needs a regas. So the aircon regas is going to cost you 50-60 quid. Wheels are a bit scuffed. I mean, you could have them refurbed if you want, but you've got a little scuff there on the bodywork. So all that kind of stuff can be done very, very cheaply. And it may be that you can actually sort of polish a few pounds into it. You either keep it as it is and run it for a bit and sell it on and hope to get your money back like that. Or maybe if you're fairly handy, you can possibly do a little bit of the work yourself just to improve it, or even pay someone to come out and fix it up for you, and you might be able to actually have a bit of margin on that. Just to give you an idea of trade value on that, we buy any cars about 1,500 quid. I've got no doubt if you were buying that from a trader right now, fully cleaned up, those little bits of bodywork sorted, the aircon regassed and what have you, that'd be £3,000 all day long. Just have a look at the MOT check on this one. Obviously MOT's up in September, so you've got no advisories on it this year. Previous year offside rear brake binding but not excessively, and the year before that was front brake disc warm, pitted score but not seriously weakened. The fact that hasn't come up sort of 2 years on, a year on, 2 years on, suggests to me that that work's possibly been done, and the mileage seems to check out. You always want to see that the mileage goes up every year and not by like 5 miles. That might be a bit sus. Next one, similar little thing, VW up. Again, just thinking about the resale with this, because we're thinking a car that you're going to have for a short period of time and you want to sell it on. VW up's going to sell so quickly. Ideal for new drivers. They like a VW badge and they're very popular little cars. This particular one is probably a bad example, and I'm going to show you why. First sort of hint that this might be a bad example is here. It's had the VW badge blacked out. It's then got a RAM air filter on it. It's got something else here, overriding device, a chip or something. I don't really know what that is, but it's been got at. And then it says in here the exhaust has just been replaced and renewed sport in brackets. So, you know, this one's been trevved up a little bit, as I call it. You're always going to do better with a bog standard car in standard trim, because a lot of people will look at a car that's been buoyed up a little bit and run a mile from it. Obviously, there's a market for buoyed up cars, for people that want buoyed up cars, but that's much smaller than the general market. If it were me and I were buying a new car and I went to look at that, I think, oh God, this has been thrashed, and I'd just walk away from it. So you want to keep your resale market as broad as possible. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing any of that to a car. If that's your thing, great, go for it. But when you're thinking about resale, you want to keep that market as wide as possible. They're reasonably reliable, 20 quid a year tax, group 1 on the insurance. That's the lowest insurance group you get. 62.8 combined MPG. These 1 litre versions are just very slow, like 14 seconds to 60. A car you're going to have no problem selling, and you'll probably get strong money for it. Again, thinking about this and thinking about getting your money back on a car, always try and buy privately if you're doing that. If you're buying a car to keep and buying a car that, you know, for decent money, then buying from trade's not a bad shout, because you've obviously got some comeback. You do have sort of 6 months comeback now when you buy trade. But if it's something you want to actually try and make some money on or run almost free of charge, you should be looking at the private market really, particularly cars that are like 2 or 3 grand. You could go to the other end of the spectrum and buy something a bit quirky and cool and maybe slightly rare, but once you start using as your daily driver, it might cost you a lot of money to run and to tax and to insure, and you might get repair bills and all those kind of things, and it might be quite difficult to sell because it is a bit rare and a bit weird and not too many people know it. These kind of cars just turn so quickly that if you suddenly get a call saying, oh, my new car's going to be delivered next Saturday, you could probably take this to the car wash, put it up for sale and have it sold. So I hope you found that useful, guys. I know a lot of people in the comments will probably say, oh, get Fiesta, get Corsa. They always sell very quickly because they're really popular cars. There are also a few more common problems with Corsas and Fiestas, particularly if you look at an EcoBoost Fiesta, than you might get with some of the cars we've looked at here. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. What else would you suggest for cars sort of under about £3,000 that you could possibly run for 6 months, 12 months, and not only sell it for what you paid for it or more or less, but sell it quickly? That's the key for a lot of people, is can you get rid of it again quickly without going to We Buy Any Car or someone like that. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Only about 20% of the people watching this video will be subscribed, so please subscribe and join the club. Thanks.